The 2022 NFL Draft is a wrap. The Broncos selected 9 players, 6 on defense, 3 on offense. Hello, I'm Phil Milani alongside Sidney Jones and Aric DiLalla. Guys, what did you think about this draft? Aric, let's start with you. Did they address all their needs?
Well, not all of them, Phil. I think that's a little unrealistic to expect for any team going into a draft, but they hit on a lot of them. You think about cornerback, defensive line, tight end, edge rusher. They were able to get better in those spots. Tackle stands out as an area that they did not address, and then of course inside linebacker. But for the most part, I'd say when you look at this roster, George Paton did a good job of filling holes. And listen, there were no glaring issues. Like you weren't missing a starter anywhere, but in terms of the depth of this team, it's much better. And they added a punt returner too, so that was another spot where you saw them kind of add some speed, and maybe that was the biggest hole where there just wasn't anybody there.
Of course, you're talking about Montrell Washington of Sanford. Sidney, I think that he had a good game against Florida.
Yeah, of course you had to say that, Phil.
Yeah, of course I did. Sidney, 7 picks on day 3 here. A lot of these guys never really heard of before. Right? Okay.
Right.
But the first round pick, Nick Bonito, the edge rusher, we've got a chance to know a little bit more about him. And I know you had a chance to sit down with him for a little while.
Yeah, Phil, I think he was a solid pick. Like you said, he came in today and, was able to go through the building and, get to see George Paton and Nathaniel Hackett again, since he did come for that top 30 visit. I did get to do an interview with him, and you can tell that he's just so excited to be here. He's really excited just for the opportunity to play on this defense and, help where he can. And, it was kind of funny. George Paton in his post-draft presser said that he came into the draft room while he was here as he was getting ready to potentially pick his former teammate, safety Delarian Turner-Yell, and turns out he's one of his best friends. So George asked him a couple questions about him, and we ended up picking him. So
I know the Broncos are high on Turner-Yell too, the safety out of Oklahoma. I think that he'll be able to contribute a lot on special teams. Aric, what stood out to you about some of these day 3 picks?
Yeah, I think that the high upside guys are where we've seen George Paton kind of go in the past on day 3, and he did so again today. Luke Wattenberg, a center from Washington, a 6th-year player. He was a guy that they think has positional versatility across the line. He stands out there as they kind of bulked up both the defensive line and the offensive line. On defense, and Yoma Uwazurike.
Excuse me?
Uwazurike.
Thank you.
Out of Iowa State. He brings that pass rush there along the defensive line, which the Broncos needed. I think they did a nice job of finding guys with that high upside potential that also met those area needs and kind of married the two together.
Yeah, a big day for the Broncos scouting staff, really. You saw them take a couple Oklahoma guys, but really they were taking players from all over the country. Sidney, you talked to many of the
Yes.
Broncos scouting staff.
we both did, Phil. And one guy that kind of stood out to me that they really liked was the cornerback from Pitt, Damario Mathis. They said he's, really fast, big, physical, can, play on special teams too, kind of like a developmental guy that, could start in the future, but a guy that can really contribute wherever he's needed.
They needed a cornerback, and they went out and made that a priority here on Saturday. I guess as we wrap this thing up, Aric, any positions that you think, okay, let's pay attention to that because they're going to address those coming up here?
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit tackle. Nobody quite fell to them. And then in addition to tackle, inside linebacker. They've got to find some guys there. George Paton mentioned, hey, college free agency still kind of up next. 10 spots about for the Broncos to fill there in college free agency. So I'd watch tackle and inside linebacker there. And then you just have kind of a chance to see, hey, is there another punt returner that could steal some reps? Is there another guy at edge that could work out? Is there another corner? You kind of get to find the gems of I guess not the draft, but the gems of these prospects that way. And I think overall, Phil, you're looking at a roster that is much improved from where it was when the offseason began.
Yeah, a successful weekend for the Broncos for sure. I think when you look back at the draft, the direction that they took tells you a little bit how they feel about this team, because you mentioned tackle, inside linebacker. Some of the top guys at those positions were still available when the Broncos decided to trade back with the Houston Texans. Christian Harris out of Alabama available. Bernhard Raimann, I know you are high on him. The tackle out of Central Michigan still available. And the Broncos decided to trade back. So maybe you could read between the lines a little bit. Tells you how the Broncos maybe are feeling about the current guys. So we'll find out, though. These guys will be in the building soon for rookie minicamp, and then the work really begins. The draft, not the end of it. It's just the beginning. I don't know if you knew that.
That's deep,
Very philosophical.
Phil.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right, that's going to do it for us. Hopefully you've enjoyed all of our draft coverage. For Aric, DiLalla, and Sidney Jones, I'm Phil Milani.